Elena sat by the window of her small apartment, her gaze drifting toward the bustling city streets below. It was a bright Saturday morning, and the world outside seemed full of life and excitement. She sighed, feeling a sense of disconnection that had been creeping in for a while. At 29, she was living in a city she had once dreamed of, working at a job she had longed for. Yet somehow, she felt emptier than ever. Her life had become a never-ending cycle of working late, scrolling through social media, and comparing herself to others. Friends and strangers alike seemed to have lives filled with purpose and adventure, while Elena couldn't help but feel left behind, trapped in a web of self-doubt and insecurity. Somewhere along the way, she had lost herself. She no longer knew who she was, what she wanted, or what truly made her happy. One day, as she aimlessly scrolled through Instagram, Elena came across a post from an old friend, Sarah, who had left the city life behind to travel and focus on her mental health. Sarah's caption caught her attention. Sometimes, the only journey you need to take is inward. The words struck a chord, lingering in her mind long after she closed the app. Could it be that her constant focus on everything outside of herself was the very reason she felt so lost? That night, Elena decided it was time to take a break from the outside world and refocus on herself. She didn't need a drastic life change or an escape to some distant land. She just needed to start with herself, here and now. Day 1. Disconnecting. The first step was cutting herself off from distractions. Elena decided to take a break from social media by turning off notifications and temporarily deactivating her accounts. It was harder than she had anticipated. She was so accustomed to checking her phone whenever she felt bored or anxious. However, the quiet that followed was surprising. It felt like she had just gained hours in her day, hours she didn't realize she had. With this newfound time, Elena decided to start journaling. At first, she didn't know what to write. It felt strange to put her thoughts into words, but slowly, the words began to flow. She wrote about her dreams, her fears, and all the insecurities she had kept buried. By the time she finished, she felt lighter, as if she had just put down a weight she hadn't realized she was carrying. Day 3. Rediscovering joy. On the third day, Elena chose to spend some time doing something she had always loved but had neglected in recent years: painting. She had been an art major in college, but life had intervened, pushing her passion for painting aside. With an old set of paints and a blank canvas in front of her, she felt a familiar spark that she hadn't felt in years. She started with simple strokes, allowing her hand to move freely across the canvas. As the colors blended and shapes emerged, she experienced an indescribable joy. It wasn't about creating a masterpiece or impressing anyone. It was about reconnecting with something that had always been a part of her. Painting brought her back to herself. For the first time in years, she wasn't worried about how others perceived her. She wasn't thinking about her job, her friends, or her social media presence. It was just her, the brush, and the colors. At that moment, that was enough. Day 7. Facing fears. As the days passed, Elena realized that focusing on herself meant confronting parts of her life she had been avoiding. There were dreams she had abandoned out of fear of failure, relationships she had neglected, and decisions she regretted. She decided to face these fears one by one, starting with the dream that once meant everything to her, opening her art studio. For years, Elena had talked herself out of pursuing this dream, convincing herself it was impractical, that she wasn't talented enough, or that it was too late. But focusing on herself meant giving herself the space to believe in her potential, and to trust that she was capable of more than she had allowed herself to believe. She made a list of small steps she could take toward this dream, enrolling in weekend art classes to improve her skills, setting up a small website to showcase her work, and reaching out to local galleries. While she wasn't ready to leave her job just yet, for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that her dream was possible. Day 14. Nurturing relationships. Elena also realized that part of focusing on herself involved being honest about the relationships in her life. There were people she had been holding on to out of habit, even though those relationships left her feeling drained. She decided it was time to set boundaries, not out of anger or resentment, but out of self-respect. She reached out to a few close friends she hadn't spoken to in a while, those who had always supported her and genuinely cared for her well-being. One of these friends was Mia, her best friend from college, who lived in a different city. They had drifted apart over the years, both caught up in their busy lives. However, when they reconnected, it felt as if no time had passed. They spoke for hours, reminiscing about old times and sharing their current struggles. Mia told her, "You know, Elena, I think it's brave that you are doing this and focusing on yourself. Not many people are willing to face themselves the way you are." These words stayed with Elena. She had always thought that focusing on herself was selfish, but she was beginning to see that it was actually the most selfless thing she could do. By becoming whole within herself, she could be a better friend, a better daughter, and a better person overall. Day 21. Embracing the present. One evening, Elena decided to take a walk in the nearby park. She had walked there countless times before, but this time felt different. She wasn't in a hurry, wasn't preoccupied with her to-do list, and wasn't focused on capturing the perfect photo to post online. As she strolled, she took in the sights and sounds around her, the rustling leaves, the laughter of children playing, and the golden glow of the setting sun. She felt fully present, immersed in the moment. It was a simple experience, yet it felt profound. Elena realized that much of her unhappiness had come from living in her head, worrying about the future and comparing herself to others. By focusing on the present, she was finally able to truly experience life and appreciate the beauty that existed in every moment. Day 30. A new beginning. By the end of the month, Elena felt like a different person. She hadn't made any drastic changes to her life. She was still working the same job, living in the same apartment, and surrounded by the same people. However, she felt a profound shift within herself. Focusing on herself had allowed her to see the world and herself in a new light. She no longer felt defined by others' opinions or trapped by her own insecurities. She had rediscovered her passions, reconnected with loved ones, and reawakened her dreams. Most importantly, she learned that focusing on oneself wasn't about isolation or self-centeredness. It was about becoming whole and nurturing one's spirit so that it could shine brightly in the world. As she looked out at the city from her window, she no longer felt disconnected. She felt grounded, at peace, and ready to embrace whatever the future held. In that moment, she realized that she had found her way home by focusing on herself. Focusing on oneself often requires facing uncomfortable truths and making necessary changes, which can be daunting. Lack of clarity can prevent individuals from understanding what focusing on themselves entails or what they truly want, leading to confusion and inaction. Focusing on yourself means prioritizing your own needs and desires rather than fulfilling the expectations of others. This doesn't mean that you are working against others. Rather, it means that you are not sacrificing your own well-being to make them happy. To fully embrace who you are, you must become comfortable with being alone. This type of self-dependence requires courage as you navigate this journey. You will need to learn to listen to your inner self and engage in activities that bring you joy. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you.